been working so hard. I got a dream, baby. Up in the gym, studio flow. I take care of my son, baby.
And I'm super excited about our guest. I say that every week, but I've been like super excited about these consistent guests that we've been having.
Facts.
It's been a refreshing ass energy, and I like how we just continued on with having women onto the show.
I noticed. I was like, oh my god. Oh wait,
women.
and having it's it's crazy because our guest is a poet, if I'm correct.
I was gonna say we can
A writer. Yeah.
A writer.
Cool thing.
Yeah,
We're
not so
about
much a
to-
poet.
No, okay.
We're gonna.
Okay.
Now that I'm looking at you, I feel like you've recited something.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You've seen her before at Writing Soul Speak.
Oh, she got me. She got me with the ooh. Okay, because it is National Poetry Month.
Oh.
Yes. So shout outs to all my poets
gotta do
and our
something for that.
writers and all that jazz. But let's get into the show.
Let's get into this. All right. So we have writer, editor-in-chief, genius. Also, makes very good food. Thank you for
amazing.
Yes.
So
Fire.
wait,
Fire.
she just put me on. What was it?
Samosa.
Samosas. First of all,
I thought they were
and
mimosas.
They were really.
Alcoholic.
Shut your ass up.
Oh my God.
But we have Dani Motze.
Dani Motze.
Moats with the most.
The Moats with the mostest.
Yes.
The mostest.
Ow.
All right, I'm done.
I'll take that.
All right,
This
so
might have been the best intro we've done.
I know.
So, I have to say so.
that's a fact. First things first, in honor of Marie, you have to give us a cool fun fact about yourself.
Cool fun fact.
Yes.
Cool fun fact is I'm actually a state licensed cosmetologist.
Really?
What?
Yes,
Wow.
so I do have my cosmetology license. But I don't practice except for on myself, which is how this all happened.
Y'all see the hair in the video.
Yeah, her hair is pink and blue.
That is wild.
So nobody asked me to cut your hair or anything like that. But yeah, I keep up with my license. I went to Votech and all that. And I did work in salons for a few years.
Damn, so you get like 50% off, right? You got like if you take your license to the stores, they give you like
Is that a thing?
if you have a cosmetology license, they give you like 99 point. Some hair products are expensive, and they give you like 99.9% off, right?
Crazy because
It's not quite that much. That would be a little too good to be true. But yeah, that's
It's
a little discount.
it's a little bit more than what I got.
Right.
So.
Yeah, right.
Are you a wine drinker?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
But I am. All right. And now for you. First question. Shut your ass up. Who is Dani Motze with the mostest?
The Motze.
The mostest.
What's the mostest? Ow.
Well, I'm lots of things. I think I'll start with saying that I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Here in My City, which is a new small community. We decided in the other room while we were waiting, we're going to start calling it a zine instead of a newspaper.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a little bit, right?
Yo,
It's a little bit
that's
better.
dope.
So a new community zine. And we're really aiming to be a platform to do a few things. One, to feature local writers. The other, to feature and to include community members who have never written or published a damn thing, but have something to say, have an idea about their community or a personal story that they want to tell.
Oh,
That's interesting.
What made you want to do that?
Yeah. What is the inspiration behind Here in My City?
A big part of the inspiration comes from the work that I've done in the community. So I've worked with a few different organizations and initiatives and really had the opportunity to see a lot of great ideas around here. And I just started to notice, specifically during my work with Reading Bike Hub, which was a project of Redesign Reading, the city's CDC, that so many people were not used to being asked what they thought. And what happened when all I did was simply say, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And then listen. And then take that and try to do something with it. And I got to watch time and time again that kind of transformation that happened in that little moment. And it was beneficial to me, too. It was both ways. Because I think when you actually listen to someone share a part of their self or share a part of their story, that it comes back to you as well, you know. So that's part of the inspiration. And then part of the inspiration was there just wasn't an outlet for me to publish some of the stuff that I was writing.
Right.
That's a big part of it. I had some pieces that just didn't fit.
Right.
And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I can't be the only one. Like, I'm going to start my own thing.
Yeah, I love that. Like, if there's no way for you, you make your own. Like, you kind of kick the door down and like, I'm here.
What we just talk about, working outside the system.
Exactly.
And you create your own lane.
Right, and I have to. My husband and I were hiking one day, and I was kind of not complaining, maybe ranting, just venting a little bit, my frustrations, letting it out, in nature and the fresh air. And he was like,
the best place to do it, to be honest.
Right, you can
therapeutic as fuck.
leave it on the trail, and then it's just there. And he was like, you should start your own thing. And I was like, yeah, maybe I will. And then I did. That's so crazy. Like, oh my God, I did it. So with other folks as well, team.
More power to you.
That's a fact. Snaps to you.
Thank you.
So what's the interest in writing? Like, how long have you been doing that, and why did you feel drawn to write of all things?
I've just been writing my whole life. My mom recently found a little notebook that I had from when I was a kid. It's just one of those things, that I've been a big writer my whole life. And I think writing can be a way to really process and think about yourself and the world around you. And so I've always been doing it and interested in it. And I think that's part of why I want to help other people to write, because I think writing and participating specifically in Here My City, though it could be for any platform locally, any of them, it doesn't have to be us. I think it could be a way to help folks think about themselves and their community in a different way.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a writer myself, I'm just curious as to like, what are you drawn to write to? Is it like memoirs? What do you like to write?
Definitely essays. And I said I wasn't a poet because literally I've sat down to try and write poetry and it turns into an essay. Like, I really tried it to, I don't know, whatever. So I've just embraced that. I love to read poetry and to hear it and to hear other people's. But I love to write a personal essay and very at the top, I love to write a research essay. Like, if I could have a job to
first for me.
Right? Yeah. Like, if I could have a job to research obscure topics and to read books and then to write about them. If that's a job out there, someone please tell me.
Because it's like one of those weird things where I've always loved like I love the idea of researching and being able to take that and put it onto a piece of paper so people can also acknowledge it. And I think what's the beauty in like how you especially tackle your essays and stuff is that you're able to have these ideas that normally we don't have access to either all the time. I think knowledge is, at some points is a little bit of a privilege kind of thing where we're allowed to research and do this. And so the fact that you're able to even bring it into like a zine, a community zine is what we're calling it. I think that's also like such a beautiful thing because it's access to information that we always wouldn't be privy to. So one, that's also something I always want to give you kudos on. I just never gave you those kudos because
I haven't really thought about it like that. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I have to think about that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. That's my college coming out. It was like, wow, I had privilege to different kind of research that I wouldn't have on a regular basis kind of thing.
Right. The ability, the time, the knowing that you have the right, knowing where to access the different tools, right, all of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is, personally, is there a specific topic that you are drawn to the most? And if so, what is your favorite piece or favorite essay that you wrote?
I am drawn definitely to writing about kind of urban planning, urban development topics in different ways. A piece that I just wrote and published. It's in issue number 3 if you're in my city.
Yeah, we're going to make that plug multiple times.
Yep. And the digital issue is actually up on the website, so you could check that out.
We'll make sure to put the links in the bio.
Thank you.
We got
you.
Of
course.
And the print issue will be out in a couple days. But it's called Can Reading Move Forward? Built on Racist Foundations.
Wow. A word.
She had time.
Today.
Can you say that again? Say that again.
Can Reading Move Forward? Built on Racist Foundations.
I like that.
And it looks, I'm interested in, hold on. I was about to rabbit trail, but I won't want to keep myself focused because I'm nerding out. out. Nerding out.
No, you can nerd out.
I do it all the time.
Hear us
I'm
ramble.
Just come back to me.
Get it together. But it really looks at the intersection of the modernist urban planning kind of movement, which people have heard of Le Corbusier. I know how to spell it more than I know how to pronounce it. So if anyone don't, troll me that I mispronounced it.
I'll definitely have to read this.
Okay.
Keep going.
I'll tell you that much.
Alcoholic.
But he built upon others. But he's maybe the best known to really push this idea of the foundations of modern zoning. So separating functions, separating work from play, and part of what that did was to separate also classes. And so Pruitt-Igoe, the kind of infamous public housing, those big towers that are kind of well known for, they were demolished, and that was kind of what was really flashed as this failed example of urban planning. But the idea that you're building these really high towers and different functions are separated from one another. So that's a really quick summary of some of the ideas of the modernist planning. There are very specific architectural aspects to it.
Right.
Okay.
And then the intersection of racist federal and state policy and how those things combined and what that looks like here in Reading. And what that looks like very literally are things like the Glenside homes.
Sorry to cut you off. I grew up in Glenside.
Right.
Okay.
Oak Brook all day.
Right.
Whatever.
And so what I look at more is the actual planning and the architecture side of it, not as much of like the social or because there's lots of benefits, and that's something I mentioned, like the stability in schooling, because you have the stability in housing, right? So there's all sorts of really good things that come out of it, and a sense of community, and all sorts of really wonderful stories. But if you look at it from a planning and kind of architecture perspective, these public housing complexes are often on the outskirts of the city, and they're often totally separated from the rest of the community.
Wow, yeah.
And so what makes it hard for people who live there to do is to walk places, to kind of interact with other pieces of the community.
Wow.
Oh, shit.
I grew up and I never thought about it. I have to read this. I've never thought about it like that. But yeah, you're 100% correct.
Because you're right over you're over the bridge too. So the closest thing you have is that one bodega on the corner with the Little Liberty,
well,
and
there's
then
two
the
now.
7-Eleven.
And then 7-Eleven is kind of a walk too.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh my
so
God.
what is that? And not to give away your whole story, but what are some of the conclusions that you've had because of this, or were able to find?
Yeah.
Right. So some of the conclusions are basically that kind of widespread generally, we have concluded that kind of taking so many of the people from the lower income bracket or lower socioeconomic level and kind of shipping them all together and putting them kind of at the outskirts of the city in this kind of separate way aren't the best thing to do for a community and a city, for anyone. And that things like mixed income neighborhoods as well as mixed use neighborhoods. So it's two things. It's mixing people of different incomes and different backgrounds, and it's also having neighborhoods that aren't all residential. So even if you take the race or the income away from it, it's also about having neighborhoods that aren't just houses, aren't just living quarters, right? Places where you can walk to and restaurants and whatever businesses and schools and parks and all of those things.
I don't ever get like, I try to pride myself on being the smartest in the room. Sometimes, not all the time. That was it. I see how that come off on Shade. Kind of
Very Virgo-ish.
No, I'm just saying.
I want it to be mixy. No, I got you. I completely understand. I want it to be mixy, but no, I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where it's like I always just enjoy receiving like new information where I'm just like my mouth actually hangs, right? And
But I know how you feel, but I grew up.
Yeah.
And it's like I never looked at it like that.
Yeah.
Like I know. Oh my God! I have to read. Please send me the link when you drop it. Send him the link.
I think it's already dropped. The physical copy just needs to come out.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Make sure you subscribe.
Yes.
You can read it tonight if you can't sleep.
Oh no. Yeah.
It's gonna be up all night.
I will read it as soon as I get home because this is. I mean, it applies to me, but it's really interesting. Like I'm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, that's actually really wonderful because I think it's also like I don't know, we kind of sometimes talk about like gentrification and stuff, but like it's a cool idea of it takes away this idea of capitalism and classism as well because it just distorts that because now you have to interact with different people.
Right.
And it creates like a stronger bond. But continue.
Right. There's a group called the Situationist. Again, not 100% on the pronunciation. I don't know how to spell it though. And they were... Part of what they did was they put out something called the Potluck, and it was truly like a newsletter. I mean, that was like handwritten or stamped or whatever, and they kind of photocopied it and sent it around. But it's very much an aesthetic inspiration for here in my city, as well as kind of spiritual. Anyway, one of the things that they did was they specifically critiqued this idea of separating functions.
Yeah.
And specifically critiqued... this way of kind of separating, controlling, because part of what the modernists wanted to do was it wasn't just about architecture or urban planning. It was about controlling the population. It was very paternalistic. It was very much about teaching people this capitalistic, specifically Christian way of life. And so one of the things they did was to use architecture to critique this kind of capitalistic, paternalistic social experiment.
Yeah. I am so fascinated.
Yeah.
Because all I think about is just like how, civilizations build themselves around the water and stuff like that. So it's almost just like how far away are you taking like them people away from a resource that's so necessary. So it's just like think about like the grocery store is like their source of water. This is how my metaphorical mind is working right now. And it's just taking them away and creating that distance and making it even harder for them to exist and to live. And so like all these functions that are supposed to work within a community, you're separating one out by putting them across the bridge from all the resources.
And then what happens, they need someone to come bring them the resources, right? And so then we say, and I've been a part of some of these groups, aren't we so amazing? Look what we brought to the people who live in the public housing. Wow. Well, why do they need you to bring them that?
Right.
And it's a very general, description. But if it's however long to walk or the public transportation system is really shitty and whatever, it's a type of attempted, and I say attempted because I don't mean to say that people who live there are not autonomous and, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm talking about the people who are setting up the system. It's like an attempted forced dependence.
Right.
That's what I've come away with from kind of reading about these topics. So.
I'm so fascinated.
Yeah. And so one of the conclusions is like, I'm not sure what the hell do you do because all these things are already built, right? And so like demolishing and rebuilding, so you already have baggage about splitting up low-income neighborhoods.
Right.
So that's like a whole other thing. It's super not green to rebuild, if you already have buildings, so what do you do? I don't have a whole bunch of answers for that.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, one of the specific things in The Color of Law, it was the book more about the government housing policy. One of the very concrete things that he suggests that Reading could actually adopt, and I would love to learn a little bit more about this, is that landlords can discriminate and reject tenant applicants who are using Section 8 vouchers. And so what happens is that they then tend to also segregate altogether and keep perpetuating the racial socioeconomic separation in a way that's legal and okay. And some cities have policy that you can't do that. As far as I understand, Reading has not adapted that yet. I would love to learn more. I think that would be like a part 2.
Yeah, because that
for my research.
No, there definitely needs to be like a part 2 of this because I need to be along on this journey. I'm sucked in.
Let's go on it together.
What we're gonna move into now. Minds are being blown.
Yeah, stop me.
No, you're good. Because I think it was like at this like whole interview. So good. But what we're gonna move into now, we're gonna throw random questions at you.
Oh no! Okay.
Yeah.
They're
All right.
pretty simple.
They're pretty simple. Yeah. So each of us are going to throw 3 questions at you, and then we're going to move into the Dearrdg segment, and that's how we usually conclude the episode. All right.
Okay.
All right. So who wants to start?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I'm so geeked, yo.
Same.
Since you're such a wonderful cook, like every time I have met Dani, she has provided me some type of food, and it's always homemade. So I have to ask, what is your favorite type of food to make, or favorite dish?
That's a good
My
question.
favorite dish. My favorite dish to eat is anything that my husband cooks.
Yeah. Oh my
Word.
God.
Is your husband a good cook too?
He made.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
He's
Was
a
it
much better cook than
was
I
it
am.
pulled pork?
Much better.
Whatever was in a crock pot.
He made that.
That was
made
fire with the
yeah.
potato buns.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
Potato buns. You can't go wrong with potato buns.
No.
Please, is the camera on here? Yo, thank you. Thank you, potato. I need that to be seen.
So good.
So,
Just D. Wells, your turn.
simple question. What's your zodiac sign?
Scorpio.
Okay.
Oh.
You love Scorpio.
I'm
yeah,
here
and the
for
first day of Scorpio.
Which
Oh.
October 23rd.
You're starting it off.
Oh, you're on the cusp. You
Yeah,
Libra,
like Libra,
Scorpio cusp.
Scorpio.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
I fucks with it. What's your favorite color?
Pink. Like this pink.
Like a shirt.
Boys
That's
wear
hot.
pink.
Yeah. It's a Todrick Hall shirt. Todrick Hall, if
I
you're
know who
watching,
that
I
is.
love you very much.
Favorite musician?
I think we'll go with Todrick Hall. He's
Okay.
definitely one of my favorite.
You got
yeah.
2 for 2 there.
Yeah.
D. Will?
He took my next question. Most memorable story that comes to mind.
Finding my dog, Rufus, who's now rest in peace in doggy heaven, recently.
All dogs in
Yeah,
heaven.
yeah, thank you.
Except for D. Will.
But we were hiking on Neversink, and literally he was a full-bred pit bull, but he was a runt, so someone must have left him up there.
Wow.
Literally, we're hiking, and we found this dog, and my husband convinced us to lay down in the snow and show our bellies, so he knew we were friends. And from that moment on, he was a part of our lives and family.
You and your
Is that a sign
husband
of-
have amazing adventures.
We do.
Honestly.
Always hiking. Like I
Right.
feel like it's always transformative.
Yeah, we could go on a group hike sometime. That'd be fun.
Let me get some
That
hiking
was
shoes.
Food afterwards, maybe.
Sounds good.
Yeah, or you change it. You change it.
Favorite writer.
Oh, ooh.
Damn, kids.
Sorry, bro. Keep up.
That's not fair. It's not a fair question.
Favorite
Top 2.
favorite essayist.
I was gonna say Margaret Atwood comes to mind, of course, because we were just talking about her. Margaret Atwood, she's known for Handmaid's Tale, but
Yeah.
writes some great
Wow.
short microfiction and essays.
That's fire.
That's what comes to the top of mind.
Last one.
Special talent.
Ooh, social
Oh,
talent.
can you juggle?
Can't juggle.
I don't know.
You know
I
what?
was gonna say
Okay.
something.
At the risk of being a super stereotypical hipster white girl, I have an amazing standing bow in my yoga practice. I have
Okay,
an
I was-
amazing standing bow from years of practice and hard
Show
work,
me.
and I'm not warmed up, so I don't want to hurt
You try to
myself.
set somebody
Yeah,
up.
I don't
There's
wanna
a
hurt myself.
hallway right there. We can
I'm
stretch before.
screaming. Sir.
When did you get started doing yoga?
Ooh, my senior year of high school. So I won't tell you how many years. A few years.
I wanted to ask, but I was like, she probably won't answer.
Yeah. I would say. What's your dominant hand?
Right.
Right-handed. Word.
Yeah.
Muffy's in the house.
I'm happy you didn't say
Oh, that's
left.
why you asked that, because you're okay.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy you didn't say left-handed. I'm
Or
so happy
I didn't say Virgo. So annoyed. All right. So what we're going to move into now is the Dearrdg segment. And so this is where it's like the open love letter to the city. This is anything that we've talked about or you just want to impart within the city. So we're all going to go and then we're going to leave you off to end it. All right?
Okay.
Cool. Who wants to start?
Dearrdg.
Oh, for us, actually. Can we leave it on a Nipsey?
That's
talk?
what I was gonna do.
Mine was
You
gonna
know,
Okay.
I was already on that. Yeah. So, Dearrdg, just take time to heal yourself. Like I've seen a lot of people on my timeline from my city who are traumatized by this, and it hits close because a lot of us have people who we care about who are the Nipseys of the world. You know what I mean? And so I just want everyone to take time to really evaluate their situation. That's where I'm going to go with.
D?
Dear Redding, appreciate people while they are still here. Like I said, give people their flowers while they can still smell them.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was like Nipsey been talking about positive things. And I mean, as bittersweet as it is that people are now paying attention, it's like, you know, I'm pretty sure you have people close to you that are trying to do positive things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say congratulations or show your appreciation while they're still here.
I would say, Dear Redding, what Nipsey taught is to buy back your block, but also own what you need to own at the same time. Like, make sure you can help in the way that you know how. You might not have the funds, but there are resources there, and you can start your program. And you see this with Omar, with Acts of Simple Kindness. You see this with Sean with the Rap Club, and Fadiba. And Fadiba.
That's my baby mother.
But in all reality, like, create these spaces for people to have, like Dani created here in my city. This is now another outlet for people. Continue to do that. Continue to give opportunities, and continue to do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dani.
Dear Redding, each of you has something to say, and each of you has something to write about. And each of you has an idea about how to solve a problem in your life or a problem in the community, and your own best solution and our best solution. And if no one else has told you today or this week, if no one else has said it, me and the rest of Here in My City care and would love to hear or read about what you think or have to say.
Word. And where can they find you on social medias?
Facebook, Here in My City, Instagram, Here in My City, or Dani Motze, and HereInMyCity.com.
That was a good episode.